Some of you may have seen a study that came out recently by YouGov, which showed that younger Americans, especially those on the left, were perfectly fine with this increase in violence. And there's this sense out there that somehow you can use violence to get something accomplished. It's pretty horrifying to most of us, and frankly, to most of America. But you know, when you have commentators in the news business saying what they've said, when you have publications like this one, which, believe it or not, is actually relatively popular. It's something called Jezebel, which I know you've never heard of. It's like the, liberal female equivalent to Gawker. I think actually it was owned by Gawker. They published an article just days before Charlie was assassinated saying that they had hired witches. Well, let me go to the article. They have since put up an editor's note. They have since, I believe they may have taken it down. We paid some witches, Etsy witches, to curse Charlie Kirk. And they went on to say, if the far-right misogynist with a bad haircut wants to villainize independent women, Jezebel is more than happy to be the hag of his nightmares. And so this particular, quote, journalist went on to say that she had paid here at Jezebel. We're about to find out if there's a spell for that. Now is it ethical to curse a man I've never met? Probably not, she writes, but is it unethical to let him keep talking? Yes. So here we are in the gray area to ruin his day with the collective feminist power of the Etsy witches. It would be my life's greatest joy. Now, they did place an editor's note because I guess somebody realized that was sort of insensitive after Charlie Kirk was assassinated. So they amended the article. Here it is, a Wall Street Journal piece on it saying the feminist website Jezebel, feminist, my you know what. My fannies, you know what. Don't call yourself feminist, please. They so destroyed that word, really. Jezebel said it condemned the shooting of Charlie Kirk 2 days after running a story with the headline, "We paid some Etsy witches to curse Charlie Kirk." Now, there are reports out that Erika was quite disturbed by this. Quite disturbed by this. If you'll note, the New York Times had a story. Apparently, she and Charlie had a meeting with a spiritual leader the night before he flew to Utah, and she was urging him to wear a bulletproof vest. The spiritual leader wanted him to be behind glass, a bulletproof glass. And Charlie said to them, no, not yet, because he still wanted to be a man of the people. But I think what Erika was tuning into was not the, insanity of the hexes and that and this, that, and the other, but rather that there was this underworld of hate and violence that her husband was at risk of being on the receiving end of, and indeed he was. Just days after his assassination, we saw this study from YouGov. Most Americans say it's unacceptable to be happy about public figures' deaths, but younger and more liberal Americans are calling it acceptable. Wow. I mean, look at that. Can you guys see this? Can I make it bigger for you? You see this? I'm going to make it really big. Look at that. Political ideology, very liberal. 24% say it's okay. A quarter? Nearly a quarter of Americans, if you're very liberal, a quarter of very liberal Americans say violence is okay. The regular liberals say 10%, moderates 7%, conservatives, I can't even see the number, very conservative, 7%. I mean, it should never be okay. I don't care what your political party is. Never, ever, ever be okay. And then when you break it down by age, 18 to 44-year-olds, 22% of them say it's okay. What the heck is going on? What the heck is going on? Maybe we're becoming desensitized. Maybe it's the media. Maybe it's articles like that Jezebel, which should be put out of business because it's a gross publication to begin with and writes crap like that. I'm sorry, I don't talk like that, but this is a moment to say that was crap. And whoever decided to publish that should go the way of, well, I would say Jimmy Kimmel, but apparently he's back on air. For now. Bye-bye. Go publish that on your little blog somewhere that nobody reads. You don't say stuff like that. I mean, come on, we're losing all human decency. And clearly this kid had no human decency. Sources telling me that Lance Twiggs is still a person of interest. We have learned that Lance Twiggs has moved out of that apartment building in Utah that was owned by his family. He's allegedly cooperating with authorities. But again, I want to remind you that my sources tell me, and I got good sources, that he's not out of the woods yet. They got 20 plus suspects that they're looking at. And believe me, they're going to find him. Because this is personal now. They'll find him anyway, as they should. But it is pretty personal because Charlie Kirk was a friend to all of us, including people that he'd never met. I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said, I felt like Charlie was my friend. I mean, in my case, he was. I knew him. I was one of the first to put him on TV. I thought he was amazing. I thought he was great. I couldn't believe what he was building and all the stars that he was creating. I mean, Anna Paulina Luna owes a lot of her career to one Charlie Kirk. And he touched the hearts and lives and minds of so many Americans. And I don't think people had any idea what a big, big deal he really was. And so to think that Jezebel was saying that, or you may have had an undercurrent in these Discord chat rooms, etc., that wanted to hurt him. His wife was aware, he was aware. Again, going back to 2018 when he told me it's getting violent, it's getting scary, it's getting bad. And yet he still went out there to do the work he did. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you for that and everything that you accomplished at such a young age. Because the country's forever changed because of you. And things will still happen, believe me. They still will. Despite the fact that we got idiots like this on television. Oh, not TV. She got fired. She got fired, right? Oh, I was going to tell you about Texas. We'll get to that in a minute. But we've got Joy Reid, who's just, I'm sorry, not good on television and not very smart, which is one of the reasons why she did get fired from MSNBC. I mean, they couldn't have that kind of vitriol. Not when they're trying to, also have an FCC run network. What do you think the Versant deal is all about? Getting Comcast and NBC as far away from MSNBC as they possibly can. I mean, they already got rid of Joy, but they got more work to do. So now she's not on TV anymore. She's out doing some podcast that I've never heard of. I doubt doing as well as we are here on YouTube. Remember to subscribe, share, like. And she's going on with Don Lemon, another not so swift individual, to talk about how she thinks J.D. Vance is like the dumbest of the dumb. And that Amy Coney Barrett, a Supreme Court Justice, is the dumbest of the dumb. And I guess she's got a few others along the way. Let's listen in.
As smart as I know my ass is, Ketanji Brown is smarter. Smartest person I've ever met in my life. When you smart, I'm smart. That lady is smart on a level I've never seen before. And her three roommates were even smarter. These girls were so smart that we were shocked that we'd ever met anybody that intelligent. And Amy Coney Barrett, on the other hand, is a Supreme Court justice just like Ketanji, even though her qualifications are minuscule compared to Ketanji's. Maybe that's the affirmative action we've been getting. White people who are essentially mediocre in scale compared to a black person getting the spot because they wanted a conservative. Maybe the way that J.D. Vance got into Yale is because they were tired of just letting in white men from New York, from Choate, from all the elite schools, and they wanted an Appalachian white. That's how that man got into Yale, I promise you. Same thing with Ron DeSantis from a small town in Florida. They wanted wanted to just get out of the New York, DC matrix, Massachusetts matrix, and let somebody into Harvard and Yale who came from a different place. He came from Florida. Baby, that's also affirmative action and DEI. So before y'all start going crazy about DEI just meaning they let Black people in just on the basis of being Black, think a little more critically. And think about the fact that it's also disabled people, military veterans, people who come from Appalachia, white folks who come from Alaska and different places that they don't normally come from, indigenous people, Latinos, Asians. And the last thing I'll say about this, for all of y'all people on Fox that are going to clip this because y'all mad about affirmative action, because yes, I embrace affirmative action because I belonged at Harvard and I was smarter than all the legacies I went to school with, who only were there because they were rich and their parents had a name on one of the buildings and they didn't go to class and I did. So I'm just going to let y'all know that we see affirmative action as these schools searching for people they wouldn't have ordinarily found without deliberately looking for us. They would have just let the same mediocre white men from rich families in. But instead, they let me in. And because of that, you now have the ability to attack me, right wingers. You have the ability to know who I am when I don't know who most of y'all are. But you know me because affirmative action brought me your way. Tell the Lord, thank you. Be grateful for all that God has given you. God knows what God is doing. She a smart, smart lady.
Woo! Okay, here's JD's comeback. I'm like, JD, did you really do that? Because if you did, gosh, he's funny. Or did someone on his team? I don't know, but that was pretty funny. That was his comeback. Brilliant. Brilliance. JD, you got to have a sense of humor in this world, right? But let's face it, she's there no longer on TV. Why? Because she couldn't actually get a rating, and because she just insulted people all the time, and because she actually told people that they should break up with their families at Christmas and Thanksgiving because you can't be all kiki, I think was the direct quote, with your family if they voted for Trump. So that's not exactly what we would call a positive influence on society. Now, is it? Amy Coney Barrett, why did she take down Ketanji? Remember that one? She was like, basically, the principle of dissent focuses on conventional legal terrain. Justice Jackson, however, chooses a startling line of attack that is tethered neither to these sources nor, frankly, to any doctrine whatsoever. In other words, she's saying Ketanji's kind of a moron who doesn't actually write anything with supporting evidence in the law. She just throws out a whole bunch of emotion in her telling the fundamental role of the courts is to order everyone, including the executive, to follow the law, full stop. She offers a vision of the judicial role that would make it even most ardent defender of judicial supremacy blush. We will not dwell on Justin Jackson's argument, which is at odds with more than 2 centuries worth of precedent, not to mention the Constitution itself. We observe only this: Justice Jackson decries an imperial executive while embracing an imperial judiciary. I mean, it was great, right? And even Sonia Sotomayor kind of chimed in because at least she had like a decent argument. But no, Ketanji, she didn't. I'm sorry. I mean, I don't know why she's there exactly. Somebody liked her. Didn't Biden say he was going to put in a black woman? Period. That's all he cared about, just a black woman. White men need not apply. Isn't that like unconstitutional, right? Like, isn't that actually discrimination? White men need not apply. White women need not apply. And this woman, yeah, she loves her DEI. She's all about DEI, which is going bye-bye. No more at Harvard, Princeton, Yale, any of those places. You actually have to get in. You actually have to have good grades. You actually have to have SAT scores. Imagine that.
As many times as I have been called DEI or an affirmative action baby and all that, you know what I never get? Mad. Because I actually am very much in favor of DEI. I don't take that as an insult because I understand that means that I'm just damn excellent and innovative. And yeah, I am DEI. I'm bringing diversity, and that's bringing something great. You're not insulting me. If you say, oh, you're an affirmative action person that got into Harvard, I'm like, yeah, I got into Harvard with affirmative action, and Yale, and Brown, and also, Vassar, and the University of Denver.
Wouldn't you rather have gotten in there because you're smart? I mean, I'm just asking the question, Joy. Wouldn't you have rather gotten in there on your own merit because you deserved it? I mean, a real meritocracy. That's what it is. We can't fix things after the fact, guys. I mean, I love it. So some of you may have heard this story before, but it's fascinating to me. So they still have a system. You know, I have a classical music background. I studied opera for a number of years, and occasionally you get to hear me sing. And, you know, I mean, the news is pretty operatic, right? So, you know, I followed my calling after all. But anyway, I have a background in music, so I know these quirky things. And they still hold orchestral auditions for the New York Philharmonic or for the Boston Symphony or for Philadelphia or any LA Symphony. All of these orchestral auditions are held behind a screen where you have no idea who is playing the violin or the flute or anything else. You don't know their gender. You don't know whether they're white, black, Asian. You don't know anything about them. You only listen to see how beautifully they can play that instrument. Because you see, when you're playing in an orchestra, everybody has to play together. And the orchestra actually has to be in tune and sound great and magnificent and all those things. So if you can't really play your instrument at a level that would be something that the New York Philharmonic would expect, then you shouldn't be in the New York Philharmonic, now should you? But you know what the latest call is? They're flipping out saying, no, we can't have this because we don't have enough black musicians in the New York Philharmonic. To which I say, hey, you know what? You can't just suddenly pick up the violin when you're 20 or even 15 or even 10, okay? The violinists that wind up making it to the New York Philharmonic, guess what? They start when they're like 3 or 4 years old, and they practice 4, 5, 6 hours a day. It's a hard instrument to get really, really good at. Same thing with any of these instrumentalists that are in these orchestras. I mean, it takes a lot of dedication from a very early age. So you can't come in with a DEI mandate after the fact and say, we're going to make the New York Philharmonic great by getting rid of standards. We don't care if they play in tune or not. Oh, they just have the right skin color. That's not going to work. Because then what's your orchestra going to sound like? Isn't it more fair to actually have it behind a screen so you don't know the sex, the age, the skin color of the individual? Seems like it makes sense to me, but not for these DEI people, right? No, they have a whole other mandate going on. They don't care how bad the New York Philharmonic sounds. I guarantee you, she probably can't hear whether or not it's actually in tune. Anyway. It's like my curse. I have like perfect pitch. Sometimes it's difficult when I hear things that are out of tune. It's very hard on me. But, you know, I have a lot of years of training. And my expectation is if I spend $200 on a ticket to go hear the New York Phil, they better be playing in tune. I don't care what anybody looks like that's up there on stage. They better be in tune. So this is where we're going with all this stuff. And it's stupid. I love how JD took her down, but just be aware, it's out there. This is who they are, and they're not going to give up on it. Reminder, 76 research. We started in part because of the DEI insanity that was actually infecting Wall Street. ESG, DEI. Hey, you know what? I'm pretty simple. I'm just a simple girl from New Hampshire, and you know what? If they got good earnings and they seem like they're on a good trajectory, that's the kind of company I like. 76research.com, use code word $. Just finally, you know, this very sad note, the shooting at Dallas ICE facility leaves 2 dead, 1 injured, just horrible, horrible stuff. We'll have more to bring you on that tomorrow. You know, we hate to have to talk about this stuff, but I'll tell you, this is the world in which we now live, where violence is becoming, unfortunately, too common. And it's got to change. And I'm not entirely sure how we change it yet, but Charlie was out there trying to. A little more respect for one another, a little more God in our lives, a little more justice, a little bit more law and order. We'll get there. We'll get there. Thank you for being here, all of you, on the front lines of history together with me. We love our country. We love our president. And we love our Constitution. And we will protect it. Thank you for being here. I'll see you right back here live on the Trish Regan Show. Make sure you subscribe. Make a comment tomorrow.